Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I've decided to talk about Ocean's 8. I know I asked you guys on my Instagram like on Tuesday and it's been a while, so I'm sorry, but here it is. Instead of reviewing the movie as I usually would, going through different aspects of the film and saying how I feel about it, I decided to take a look at the critic reviews for this movie and see if anything that they said lined up with how I felt about the movie, because I know a lot of us don't care too much about critic reviews, but they mean something to the industry, and I want to see how these critics, perceived the movie. And let's be real, if you know me at all, you know that I would have loved this movie, no questions asked. You throw in 8 women having fun, pulling off a heist. Of course I loved the movie. Okay, let's get to business. The first review here is from the Times of India, and it says, a slick and smart heist movie that freshens things up with the all-women cast. And it was a 3.5 out of 5. And I would have to say that I agree with this. Like, it's not an amazing movie that deserves a 5 out of 5, not even a 4 out of 5. So a 3.5 out of 5 makes sense, because there was nothing too special about that movie except for the fact that it was an all-women cast. It's a played out plot line, and even I know that. As much as I love these plot lines, I know that they've been played out. In that aspect, there was really nothing special to it, but it was just that it was women. Okay, this next review is probably... Okay, never mind. I'm gonna read it first, and then we'll talk about it. I left Ocean's 8 more convinced than ever that no amount of fierce, fantastic female ensembles can overcome the mediocrity of a dull male director. Right? Like, if you've watched the movie, you will know exactly what Emily Yoshida is talking about. Seriously, before you pounce on me or anyone else, it's not that we're saying male directors are not good. It's just that after what Patty Jenkins gave us with Wonder Woman, you can't help but not to think that a woman would have done a better job with this all-female cast and this amazing lineup of actresses that were a part of this movie. Because as much as I wanted to love the movie, and I did end up loving it, it fell a little flat, even for me. And I love Cate Blanchett, I love Mindy Kaling, Sandra Bullock, I loved everyone in that. Oh, Helena Bonham Carter. I would be listing all of them, which I almost already have, but despite all of that, the movie fell a little flat for me because it was lacking just that something that you want a little more of, which honestly Ocean's 11 did have. You know how you think something but you can't articulate it and someone else says it out loud and you're like, oh my god, that's exactly what I was thinking, that's exactly how I wanted to put things, So this review resonated with me the most. Ocean's 8 changes things up with an all-female gang, but there's a boyfriend angle. So even when women are running a multi-million-dollar con, they have to make room for guy troubles, which is a drag. I mean, yes, it did make the plotline a lot juicier, but it could have been done in a million different ways. It didn't need to be a boyfriend who betrayed her in the past. She could have come back for revenge for a million other different kinds of people in her life versus an ex-boyfriend who let her down. That definitely made that movie a little dull, because that's what you would expect from a woman, to sabotage an ex-lover. Or at least that's how I perceive that the world would expect women to act. Because men have goals and dreams and 100 million other things they want to do, but all a woman can think about is her love life. And this movie kind of reiterates that, and it's really frustrating. I mean, at the end of the day, it'll never be a critically acclaimed movie. It'll never be anything that, you want to hold on to for generations. But it's a milestone. It marks something really important for women, because it took us a long time to get here. All along in movies like this, women have always been the love interest for the main character, or the love interest for the bad guy, whichever way you want to see it, but women were never actually a part of things like this. And then about 10-15 years ago, I feel like women were allowed to become like one of the team, like there'll be one woman out of like 7 men, and it was already like, oh, you know, she's tough, she's cool, but she never really ever gets to do anything because the men always overpower her, and then sometimes she's the damsel in distress. But this movie just negated all of that by giving only women. And it's amazing when Deb doesn't want a guy on her team, because a him gets noticed and a her doesn't. And this time all the women wanted to go unnoticed because they wanted to pull off a heist. But you know, did I spoil something? Oh please, we all know what the movie's about. But I feel like that one little scene and that line by Debbie Ocean kind of points out exactly what has been wrong with society for so long, because women have always been considered unimportant, never a threat, never important enough to be a threat. And when 8 women come together, it is made even more obvious, sort of, because they had to try a lot less harder than men to hide and blend in, because you know, pretty girls are dumb. Like, you don't even turn to look at them and worry about them as threats. And that is exactly what Ocean's 8 kind of showed us, because you've never really seen 8 women on the front line for a movie based on crime, because that's not what you expect women to do. All female cast or female dominated cast movies have always been about them being moms and not being able to deal with it, or them being college girls and worrying about their love lives, or you've never really seen a bunch of women come together and just have fun and commit a crime. Which I am in no way endorsing crime or criminal activity, but it's entertaining to watch in a movie. So at the end of the day, what I personally would like to say about that movie is that it was fun to watch. It was entertaining. There was a lot of quick wit repartee between the characters, which is something I really appreciate in movies. Yes, the characters were all dressed to highlight their bodies and make them look good by societal expectations, and they did look amazing, and that is definitely one of the highlights of the movie, because you've brought together a lineup of beautiful women with different skin tones and body types, and they all were made to stand out, and it was amazing to look at, especially given where the movie, you know, happens. The heist takes place in the Met Gala, and all of them are dressed for the event at the end of it, and it's just beautiful. And one of my favorite things about the movie is the fact that it brought women together and made them be friends. Even when things went wrong, they stuck by each other, they were there for each other. And I feel like very often the media wants to portray this competition that women have with each other, and I'm not denying that that's a thing, but we know how to be friends. We are friends with each other. And I like that the movie portrayed that and gave us an amazing female friendship to look at, or a group of women who are friends. And I've always thought it's important to show things like that in movies, especially when you create plot lines like this, because with men, we've seen both. We've seen them fighting with each other and them being friends time after time, and it's never a big deal either way. But seeing women be friends on screen was kind of a big moment for me, because I don't see it very often, because you normally only give me one woman or 2 women who are fighting over the same guy, and that's about it. So this was different and very refreshing. Although I thought that all these women were amazing and they represented very different kinds of women in society, teeny tiny problem with that. I felt like everyone's characters, even Debbie's character, was very, very, very underdeveloped. Like, there was so much more that could have been done. You understand one thing about their life, and that's not sufficient to wholly understanding a character and being able to relate to the character. Of course, I related to Amita from day freaking one, because Mindy Kaling's opening scene, any Indian woman in her late 20s will understand that. And not saying I'm there yet, but you know, the time will come and I'm preparing myself for it. But at the end of the day, it did not give me what I wanted to see in these women. Maybe I had really high expectations, but the characters could have been written a lot better, or rather the portrayal of these characters could be written a lot better. I don't think this movie was made for men. I don't care what, race you are, which part of the world you're from, but this movie was definitely not made for men in the sense that, yes, they can stare at the women, but they will never understand why we needed this movie. And to all you girls out there, and if you've not seen the movie, I would definitely say take a night out, go with your girlfriends, chill, have fun. It's the kind of movie you don't want to think during, and you don't have to, because it's purely entertaining. So till I see you guys in my next video, goodbye.